My name is Claire J. Little, and I am 60 years old. I told my younger daughter to move on after her older sister stole her husband, and now she has cut us off, blocked the entire family, and left me with one sentence I will hear for the rest of my life. I hope Samantha was worth losing your real daughter over. I am sitting at my dining table on my 60th birthday, staring at an empty chair. There is a cake on the sideboard, candles I have not lit, and a card for my older daughter Samantha and her husband Evan with a safe little message about gratitude and family. I bought it this morning because I still do things out of habit, still reach for the version of my family that no longer exists. But the chair across from me is the part I cannot stop looking at. I set it out for Olivia before breakfast, then stood there for 20 minutes with one hand on the back of it, pretending there was still a chance she might walk through the door. She is not coming. She is never coming. But this did not start today. It started 12 years ago with a phone call I thought I handled like a good mother. It was a Tuesday. I remember that because I had just come home from book club, still wearing the pearl earrings Walter said made me look like a school principal, when my phone rang. Olivia, my younger daughter, 28 then, was working as a park ranger 2 hours north. Her voice cracked the moment I answered. "Mom," she said, and then there was a terrible pause. Evan left me. I froze in the kitchen doorway. Olivia and Evan had been married 3 years, high school sweethearts. The kind of love story relatives mentioned at weddings as proof that good things still happened. She was outdoorsy, patient, steady. He was a wildlife photographer, gentle on the surface, always carrying a camera, always talking about light, like it was something holy. They seemed solid to me. Maybe that was my first mistake. Mistaking quiet for strong. "What happened?" I asked. "I don't know." She sounded gutted, like every word scraped its way out. "He said we weren't working anymore, said he needed space. He packed some things 3 weeks ago and said he was staying with a friend. I thought he just needed time, but he called this morning and said it's over. Officially. I did what I believed any mother would do. I told her I was sorry. I told her marriages sometimes break in ways nobody sees coming. I said she was young, strong, and would get through it. She thanked me in that hollow voice people use when they are too broken to argue, then hung up. I felt terrible for her, truly. But I also remember thinking, at least they did not have children. Clean break. Even now, I hate myself for how quickly I reached for comfort. 2 weeks later, Samantha called. Samantha was 4 years older than Olivia. Polished, confident, the daughter who could walk into any room and make people feel lucky she had arrived. Growing up, she and Olivia were close enough to share secrets, but different enough to compete without admitting it. Samantha had always been the glittering one. Olivia was the grounded one. I thought they balanced each other. I did not understand that one of them had learned how to take "Mom," Samantha said, and I heard hesitation immediately. "I need to tell you something, and I need you to hear me out before you react." My stomach tightened. Evan and I are together. For a few seconds, my brain simply refused the words. "What?" "I know how it sounds," she rushed on, "but it is not what you think. After he left Olivia, he was a mess. I was trying to help. We started talking, and something happened. We did not plan it, it just became real. I wanted to scream. I wanted to ask my daughter what kind of woman lets her sister's husband cry on her shoulder until he ends up in her arms. But Samantha sounded frightened and sincere, and I was a coward, in exactly the way people become cowards when the truth threatens to burn down the whole house. When I called Evan later, he said the same thing. Olivia and I were already over, Claire. Samantha did not cause it. We connected afterward. I wanted to believe him, because the alternative meant my older daughter and my son-in-law had betrayed Olivia before she even knew she was losing her marriage. Then Olivia called. "Did Samantha tell you?" Her voice was flat. "She did," I said carefully. "And I know this is painful, sweetheart, but if Evan left first—" "Mom," Olivia cut in. "He left me, and 2 weeks later he is with my sister. You really think that just happened?" "I am not saying it is simple," I whispered, "but marriages end. People move on. You need to—" "Don't," she said. The coldness in her voice frightened me. I am not choosing sides, I insisted. I am trying to keep this family together. Samantha is your sister. Evan is going through something too. We all are. We are family, Olivia. We work through things. There was a long silence. Then she said, Okay, Mom, I understand. The line went dead. 3 days later, her number was disconnected. By the weekend, her apartment was empty. Her lease terminated. Her ranger station transfer approved to somewhere in Montana with no forwarding address. Olivia was gone, and I told myself she would cool off. That was the lie that cost me my daughter. For the first 48 hours after Olivia disappeared, I panicked in the way mothers panic when they realize their child has not simply stopped answering, but has removed every door you once used to reach them. I called her old apartment building. I called the ranger station where she had worked. I called friends from high school, former coworkers, anyone whose number I still had saved. Most people did not know where she had gone. The few who did spoke to me carefully, like I was someone they had already been warned about. One of her ranger friends finally said, I'm sorry, Mrs. Little. She asked us not to share anything. That sentence hurt me, but instead of asking why my daughter felt she needed protection from me, I told myself she was being dramatic. Walter, my husband, found her new station through a contact at the Park Service. Somewhere in Montana, remote, difficult to reach, the kind of place Olivia would choose if she wanted mountains, silence, and nobody asking her to forgive what had happened. I called the number immediately. It rang until voicemail. Olivia, it's Mom, I said, trying to keep my voice steady. Please call me back. I'm worried about you. I love you. She did not call. Walter sat me down a month later at the kitchen table. He looked older than he had the day before, though maybe that was just the first time I noticed how tired I had made him. Claire, he said, do you really believe Evan left Olivia and then simply fell in love with Samantha 2 weeks later? I don't know what I believe, I snapped. Yes, you do. I am not accusing our daughter without proof. Walter's mouth tightened. You did not need proof to comfort Olivia. You needed proof only when comforting her would have made Samantha look bad. That felt cruel at the time. Now I know it was accurate. 6 months after Olivia left, Samantha and Evan moved in together. Samantha called me, nervous and sweet, asking whether I thought it was too soon. I told her life was complicated, and people deserved happiness. What I meant was, if I accepted this, maybe the family could still look intact from the outside. I helped them pick out a couch. I complimented their apartment. I told myself that if they were building something real, maybe the damage behind it would eventually matter less. Thanksgiving that year, I set the table for 5 out of habit. Walter noticed the extra plate. Why did you do that? He asked. In case she comes. He did not argue. He just looked at the empty chair with such sadness that I busied myself in the kitchen so I would not have to see it. Olivia did not come. The plate stayed untouched through dinner while Samantha laughed too loudly and Evan avoided looking toward the empty space. After everyone left, I cried while washing dishes, then dried my face before Walter came in because grief was easier to manage when nobody asked what caused it. 2 days later, I received a text from an unknown number. You chose them. You chose peace over truth. Do not pretend you were neutral. I stared at it for so long my screen dimmed. Then I deleted it. Year 2, Samantha and Evan got married at a vineyard. 30 people. Soft music. White flowers. Samantha wore lace and looked radiant in the way brides do when they are surrounded by people willing to forget the cost of the dress. Olivia was not invited. Samantha said it would be too awkward. Evan agreed. I did not argue. When relatives asked where Olivia was, I smiled and said, She's working out of state. Couldn't make it. My sister Ruth pulled me aside near the dessert table. Claire, doesn't this feel wrong? I stiffened. They are both my daughters. Yes, she said. And one of them took the other one's husband. I walked away before she could say more. Christmas that same year, a plain envelope arrived with no return address. Inside was a card in Olivia's neat handwriting. Stop pretending you did not choose. Nothing else. Walter read it over my shoulder and said quietly, "She is right." I threw the card away. Year 3. Samantha got pregnant. I screamed with joy when she told me. My first grandchild. I bought baby books, a stuffed bear, tiny socks. I almost emailed Olivia to tell her she would be an aunt, but I deleted the draft because some part of me knew she would not see that baby as a bridge. She would see her as proof that the people who betrayed her had been rewarded with a family while she had been asked to disappear quietly. The baby came in October, a beautiful little girl. I held her and felt complete for one dangerous moment. Then year 4, Ruth mentioned Olivia had gotten married in Montana. I had not known. Year 5, I learned she had a daughter. Year 6, another. I was a grandmother to 3 girls by then, but only one knew my face. The other 2 were names I had to piece together from distant relatives and careless comments. Holidays became photos I never posted, frames I never filled, and lies I repeated until they sounded almost true. Owen is busy, I used to say in the original life I pretended I had, but now it was Olivia, my daughter, my lost child. And every year, the empty chair got quieter, but it never disappeared. Year 7 began with a phone call at 3 in the morning. Not the kind of call any wife wants, not the kind your body lets you forget. Walter had collapsed in the bathroom. One minute he was there, brushing his teeth, complaining that the sink faucet was dripping again, and the next he was on the tile floor with his hand pressed to his chest. The paramedics came fast, but not fast enough. They told me later it was massive, that he was gone before they reached the house, that he probably did not suffer long. People say things like that because they need to offer something, even when there is nothing useful left to offer. I moved through the next week like a woman underwater. Funeral home, flowers, phone calls, casseroles appearing on the porch. Samantha handled most of the arrangements because I could barely choose between white lilies and yellow roses without feeling like I was betraying some version of Walter who would have laughed and told me flowers were flowers. Evan was helpful in a quiet way, picking up relatives from the airport, fixing a loose hinge on the back gate, standing beside Samantha like the devoted husband I had decided he was allowed to become. I did not think much about Olivia that week. I wish I could say I did. But grief makes selfish animals of us. I was too busy losing the man beside me to think clearly about the daughter I had already lost. The funeral was on a Saturday. Small church, maybe 50 people, gray light through stained glass, the smell of old wood and funeral flowers thick enough to choke on. I sat in the front row between Samantha and Evan, hands folded in my lap, staring at Walter's closed casket and thinking how strange it was that 12 years could pass while you were busy pretending time healed things. The pastor had just begun speaking when I felt a shift behind me. Not a sound exactly. More like the air recognizing someone before I did. I turned. Olivia stood in the back. For a second, I did not know my own daughter. She had filled out with strength, her hair shorter, her face sharper, lines around her eyes that had not been there at 28. She wore a dark suit, hands clasped in front of her, expression unreadable. Not cold, not warm, just finished. Our eyes met. I started to stand, but she gave the smallest shake of her head. So I stayed seated, my heart hammering against my ribs, while the pastor talked about marriage, memory, and the love that survives death. I heard none of it. I kept looking back, afraid that if I blinked, she would disappear again. After the service, people formed a line to hug me. I accepted condolences, murmured thank yous, and searched over shoulders until the crowd thinned. Olivia waited near the aisle, peswalcacient, distant, as if she were attending the funeral of someone she loved and the trial of someone she did not. When she finally walked up, we stood facing each other with 7 years of silence between us. "Mom," she said quietly. "Olivia." My voice broke on her name. She hugged me, briefly, stiffly. Still, for those 2 seconds, I held my child again. "I'm sorry for your loss," she said. Thank you for coming. She nodded and glanced past me toward Samantha and Evan, who stood 10 feet away pretending not to stare. Olivia did not acknowledge them. Not with a word, not with a look. I need to go, she said. Wait, please, can we talk? Not today. Then when? She looked at me with something that felt worse than anger. Pity. Take care of yourself, Mom. Then she left. That night, after the house emptied, and Samantha went home with Evan and their daughter, I sat in Walter's office, surrounded by his things. His reading glasses, his old fountain pen, a half-finished crossword puzzle. I opened his laptop because I needed to find insurance documents, but instead I found a folder in his email labeled simply, "Oh, Olivia." Years of messages. Not many. One every few months. Short, careful exchanges. Walter congratulating her on a promotion. Olivia sending photos of her daughters. Walter writing, "The girls are beautiful." The girls, my granddaughters. He had known their names, their faces, their birthdays. He had been part of their lives, in the small, secret way Olivia allowed, and he had never told me. The last email was from 6 months before he died. "Dad," Olivia had written, "I love you, but I cannot forgive Mom for pretending what Samantha did was okay. She asked me to move on so she could be comfortable. I did move on, just not the way she wanted. Give her my best, but please do not tell her we talk. It will only hurt her more." Walter had replied, "I understand. I am proud of you, sweetheart. You deserved better from both of us." I sat in his chair until the room blurred. Walter had chosen Olivia in private, where it would not cost him me. He had given her the one thing I refused to give: validation. He told her she was not crazy. He told her she had been wronged, and I had spent years calling myself neutral. For the first time, the word sounded exactly like what it was: cowardice. After Walter died, I did what guilty people often do. I turned grief into a project. I told myself I was trying to honor my husband, trying to repair what death had exposed, trying to gather the broken pieces of my family before they scattered too far to find. But the truth, the ugly truth I refused to say out loud, was that I was terrified of sitting alone with the knowledge that Walter had understood Olivia better than I ever had. For the next 2 years, I became obsessed with fixing things. Not honestly, not by admitting the full truth, by arranging circumstances where everyone would have to sit in the same room and pretend healing was inevitable because I wanted it badly enough. I told myself Walter would have wanted his daughters reconciled. I told myself my 60th birthday could be a clean beginning, a milestone, a reason, a mother's final request. It was a lie, but it was a comforting one. I hired a private investigator during year 8, though I dressed that up in softer language too. "I just need to know she's safe," I told Ruth. The investigator found Olivia's current address in Montana, her work number, her email, her wife's name, her daughters' names. I stared at those names for hours. My granddaughters. 7 and 5 then. I did not know their favorite colors. I did not know whether they liked dolls or dinosaurs or climbing trees like their mother used to. I knew nothing because Olivia had built a life where my absence was part of the architecture. I called the number 10 times before I finally left a voicemail. "Olivia, it's Mom," I said, voice shaking so badly I barely sounded like myself. "I miss you. Please, let's talk." She never called back. Year 9. Samantha got drunk at Thanksgiving. It was just the 3 of us that night. Me, Samantha, and Evan, their daughter sleeping over at a friend's house. Samantha poured a 3rd glass of wine, then a 4th, staring into it like it had answers. "Mom," she said suddenly, "do you think Olivia hates me?" The room went completely still. We did not say Olivia's name anymore. That was the rule everyone followed, without admitting it. "She is stubborn," I said carefully. Samantha laughed, but it came out broken. Sometimes I wonder if Evan and I started before she left him. Evan went pale. Sam. No, I'm serious. Samantha looked at me, eyes unfocused and wet. I remember talking to him while they were still married. Long talks. Deep talks. I remember feeling guilty, but I don't remember when it became something we couldn't stop. It was after, Evan said quickly. You're drunk. Was it? Samantha whispered. I should have asked. I should have demanded the truth, right there, even 10 years late. Instead, I said the coward's sentence. It was a long time ago. Samantha looked at me like she hated me for saving her from herself. By year 11, my 60th birthday was approaching, and the fantasy took over completely. I planned the dinner 6 months out. Guest list, menu, flowers, a photographer. Even the seating chart I kept revising because I could not stop imagining Olivia finally walking in. Samantha asked once if I was inviting her. Of course, I said. Mom, I don't think... It is my birthday, I snapped. I want both my daughters there. That is all I am asking. But finding Olivia was harder now. Old numbers were disconnected. Emails bounced. Her friends would not help. Finally, I found a staff directory for Montana Fish, Wildlife, and Parks. Regional Director Olivia Little, work number listed. My hands shook as I dialed. This is Olivia. Her voice was deeper than I remembered, steady and professional. Olivia, I whispered. It's Mom. Silence. Then, I know. I'm turning 60 next month. I want you there. I need both my daughters with me. Is Samantha coming? Yes, but this is not about her. It is about family, about closure. Closure for who, Mom? The question landed like a slap. For all of us, I said weakly. It has been 12 years. Don't you want to move past this? I moved past it a decade ago, Olivia said calmly. You are the one still standing in the wreckage asking me to come back and decorate it. I love you both equally. No, she said almost gently. You love your peace more than my pain. I started crying then. What did you want me to do? Disown Samantha? She is my daughter too. I never asked you to disown her. I asked you to tell the truth. I asked you to say what she and Evan did was betrayal. You chose neutrality because it was easier for you. Please, I whispered, if Samantha is there, I am not. You cannot be serious. I am completely serious, and if that is your choice, then I hope Samantha was worth losing your real daughter over. The line went dead. I called back. Voicemail. I texted. Failed. I emailed. Bounced. She had erased me completely. I still went through with the party because admitting the truth felt impossible. Samantha came with Evan and their daughter. People asked where Olivia was. I smiled and said, work. She could not make it. We took the family photo I had dreamed about, me in the center, Samantha on one side, Evan on the other, my granddaughter smiling in front of us. On camera we looked complete. Only I could see the missing piece. 2 hours later, Samantha found me on the back porch. Her face was gray. Mom, she said, Evan and I are separating. The world tilted. She says she cannot live with the guilt anymore, Samantha whispered. She says everything we built came from something rotten. What you built? I asked, hearing my own voice like it belonged to someone else. Samantha looked at me, really looked. It started before he left Olivia, she said. Not physically at first, but emotionally, yes. We both know that. I think we always did. And there it was. The truth I had traded my daughter for. After Samantha told me the truth, I did not go back inside right away. I stayed on the porch with my hands wrapped around the railing, staring at the dark backyard, while music and conversation drifted through the windows behind me. People were still laughing in there. Someone was asking for more cake. My granddaughter was running across the living room in her party dress, happy and innocent, and I stood outside, finally understanding that the family I had protected had been built on the exact betrayal Olivia had named from the beginning. Later that night, Evan found me in the hallway near the bathroom. He looked thinner than I remembered, older too, like guilt had been living in his bones rent-free for years. "Claire," he said quietly, "I tried to write Olivia once." I looked at him. "Last year," he continued, "I found her work email. I apologized. She wrote back one line." "What did she say?" His throat moved. "She said, 'I forgave you years ago, but I will never forget what my mother did.'" He left me standing there with that sentence echoing louder than all the party noise. She had forgiven the man who betrayed her marriage before she had forgiven the mother who made her pain negotiable. Somehow that hurt worse than anger. After everyone left, I sat alone at my laptop and searched for Olivia's life. I found her husband's public posts first, then old photos, trail pictures, campfires, two little girls with wind-tangled hair and muddy boots, Olivia laughing beside a man I had never met, and children whose birthdays I had missed. One caption under a family camping photo said, "Grateful for the family we built from scratch. No baggage, just love." No baggage. I was the baggage she left behind. I wrote her an email that night. I wrote everything I should have said 12 years earlier. I told her she was right. I told her I had chosen Samantha and Evan, chosen comfort, chosen the appearance of family over the truth of what had been done to her. I told her Samantha had admitted the emotional affair began before Evan left. I told her I finally understood neutrality had not been fairness. It had been cowardice with better manners. I hit send. It bounced immediately. Domain not found. Blocked at the server level. Not ignored. Not delayed. Refused before it could even reach her. The next morning there was a small padded envelope in my mailbox. No return address. Postmarked Montana. My hands shook before I opened it. Inside was a photograph from Samantha and Evan's wedding, 12 years ago. Me standing beside them in my lavender dress, smiling like a proud mother, one arm around Samantha, Evan on her other side. The photo had been cropped from a wider frame, and I could see where Olivia should have been if life had been honest. Stuck to the picture was a yellow note in Olivia's handwriting. "You were there for them, never for me." I broke then. Not loudly, not dramatically. Just sank to the kitchen floor with the photograph in my lap and let the truth do what it should have done years ago. I had stood beside the people who destroyed my daughter's marriage and smiled for the camera. Then I had called it love. After that, I stopped lying. When people asked about Olivia, I no longer said she was busy or distant or difficult. I said, "We are not in touch. I made choices that hurt her, and she moved on without me." Most people did not ask more. The ones who did got the truth, because I had spent 12 years protecting the wrong people with silence. Samantha and Evan's divorce finalized 3 months after my birthday. He moved away for work. Samantha stayed near me for a while, but something between us had changed. Not hatred, not even anger, just exhaustion. The family I sacrificed Olivia to preserve scattered anyway. All that neutrality, all those careful smiles, and for what? I started therapy. Not to win Olivia back. That ship was gone, sunk somewhere cold and deep. I went because I needed to understand why I had called cowardice wisdom. My therapist asked, "Why did you stay neutral?" I said, "Because losing Samantha felt impossible, and Olivia seemed stronger." Then I heard myself and finally understood the cruelty of it. I had punished the child with a spine because I was afraid to confront the child who broke something. I changed my will, a third to Samantha, a third in trust for Olivia's daughters, payable when they turn 18, with a note that says, "From a grandmother who loved you but never earned the right to know you." The final third goes to a wildlife conservation charity in Olivia's name. It is not forgiveness. It is not redemption. It is just one honest thing at the end of a dishonest road. I am 61 now. Walter is gone. Samantha and I speak, but carefully. Olivia is a life I hear about, only through distant people who say she is well, promoted, happy, loved. She does not mention us, As far as her story is concerned, her family began in Montana with the husband who stood beside her and the daughters who will never have to watch their mother beg for basic loyalty. I keep the cropped wedding photo in a drawer, not displayed, not destroyed, just there, a receipt for the woman I was. Neutrality is not kindness when someone has been betrayed. It is betrayal with softer lighting. I chose wrong. Olivia walked away, and the silence she left me with is permanent.